Hi, I'm Sarah. Today, I'm going to read you the story of Rita, which is titled like this. I was invited to a family dinner only to be told I was excluded from a family trip for which I had paid $9,200. We gave your place to your brother's fiancé. You have to understand, I smiled. Completely understand. They forgot about one detail. Well, let's go. I was sitting at my desk, staring at quarterly sales reports, when my phone buzzed. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. Thursdays were always crazy at Spore Max, the sports equipment company where I work as a regional sales manager. But something made me pick up. Hey, Mom, what's up? Rita, honey, I'm so glad I caught you. Are you free this Saturday evening? Your father and I would love to have you over for dinner around 6 o'clock. She hung up before I could ask more questions. I stared at my phone, wondering what was going on. Mom seemed excited about something, but she wasn't giving me any details. I figured it had to be about our Italy trip. We were all supposed to fly out in 2 weeks for a 10-day vacation I'd been planning for months. The trip was my idea, actually. I'd been working my ass off for the past 3 years, pulling 60-hour weeks and dealing with demanding clients. I finally had enough vacation time saved up and decent money in the bank to take my family somewhere special. Italy had always been on my bucket list: the food, the history, the art. I'd spent weeks researching hotels and booking everything. My parents, David and Susan, are both retired now. Dad used to work construction until his back gave out 5 years ago. Mom was a secretary at a law firm until they downsized. Money's been tight for them since retirement, so I knew they couldn't afford a trip like this on their own. That's why I decided to pay for everything: flights, hotels, meals, the works. It cost me $9,200, but seeing my family happy would be worth every penny. My younger brother, Jake, was coming too. He's 26 and still figuring his life out. He works part-time at a grocery store and lives in a crappy apartment downtown. I've been helping him with rent and car insurance for the past 2 years. He's a good kid, just needs some direction. Jake's been dating this girl, Emma, for about 8 months now. I've met her a few times at family barbecues and birthday parties. She seems nice enough, though a bit pushy sometimes. She works at a nail salon and talks a lot about wanting expensive things. Jake's crazy about her, always showing us pictures on his phone and talking about how lucky he is. Saturday came, and I drove over to my parents' house around 5:30. Mom answered the door with a huge smile, but something felt off. Dad was in his usual spot, but everyone seemed nervous. Jake was there with Emma, and they kept exchanging looks, like they were sharing some inside joke I wasn't part of. We sat down at the dining room table, which was set with Mom's good china. After we finished the main course, Mom cleared her throat. Rita, honey, your father and I wanted to talk to you about something important tonight. My stomach dropped. What happened? Is someone sick? No, nothing like that, Dad said, looking uncomfortable. It's about the trip. I felt relief wash over me. Oh, good. I thought someone had cancer or something. What about the trip? Well, the thing is, Dad continued, Emma is going to be coming with us. I looked around the table, confused. Okay, that's great. She can book a seat on the same flight and get a room at the hotel. That's just it, Mom said softly. We checked, and there aren't any seats available on our flight, and the hotel is completely booked for those dates. I frowned. Well, she could fly out the next day and stay at a different hotel nearby. Jake's face turned red. I don't want Emma staying somewhere else. I want her in the same room as me. Okay, so what exactly do you want from me? I asked, getting more confused by the second. Mom took a deep breath. We've decided that Emma should take your place on the trip. She'll use your ticket and your room reservation. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. What do you mean, take my place? We figured it out, Mom explained, avoiding my eyes. Your father and I will take the rooms that were booked for you and Jake. Jake and Emma can stay in the room we were supposed to have. I sat there in complete shock, trying to process what I was hearing. Wait, you want to kick me off the trip that I paid for? Everyone at the table frowned, like I'd said something offensive. "You earn good money, Rita," Jake said coldly. "You should be ashamed of yourself for throwing it in our faces that you helped the family." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Jake, I paid $9,200 for this entire trip for all of you." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom finally spoke up. "If you really want to go to Italy, you can do what we suggested earlier. Buy a ticket for the next flight and book a room at a different hotel." Everyone at the table started laughing, except me. Dad was chuckling, Mom was giggling, Jake was grinning, and Emma was trying to hide her smile behind her hand. They thought this was funny. I forced a smile and nodded. "I understand." For the next hour, I sat there while they excitedly discussed their trip plans. It was like I wasn't even there anymore. They'd completely dismissed me from their vacation and moved on like nothing had happened. Nobody noticed when I quietly got up from the table and gathered my jacket. I walked to the front door and let myself out. The cool evening air hit my face as I walked to my car, my hands shaking as I fumbled with my keys. I pulled into my apartment complex and sat in my car for a few minutes, staring at the steering wheel. I finally got out of my car and walked up to my apartment, feeling like I was moving through fog. I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and immediately broke down crying. I cried until I had no tears left, then fell asleep on my couch, still wearing my clothes from dinner. When I woke up Sunday morning, my face was puffy and my back ached from sleeping in a weird position. For a split second, I forgot what had happened. Then it all came rushing back, and I felt sick to my stomach. My phone was buzzing on the coffee table. Mom's name appeared on the screen again. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but I figured maybe she was calling to apologize. Maybe they'd all talked it over and realized how messed up their plan was. "Hello," I answered, trying to sound normal. "Rita, good, you're awake." Mom's voice was cheerful, like nothing had happened. "Jake and Emma are planning to have their engagement party when we get back, and we were hoping you could pay for it." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "They want to have it at Giovanni's, you know, that fancy Italian place downtown. Emma has her heart set on it. We just thought it would be a nice gesture from his big sister." I sat there, speechless. A nice gesture? After what they did to me yesterday, they wanted a nice gesture. "Of course I'll pay for it," I heard myself saying. "I'd be happy to." "Oh, wonderful. I knew you wouldn't let us down. Emma will be so excited. Actually, can you give Emma my number? I'd like to talk to her directly about what she wants for the party." "That's so thoughtful of you, dear. I'll text it to her right now." She hung up, and I stared at my phone, smiling for the first time since yesterday. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile you get when you finally understand something that's been confusing you. I had an idea forming in my head, a plan that would teach my family exactly what it felt like to be disappointed. First things first, I called the hotel in Italy and canceled all the room reservations, presuming that the bookings were refundable. The cancellation fee was about $300, but I didn't care. It was worth every penny to know that when my family arrived in Rome, they'd have nowhere to stay. I hung up, feeling better than I had in hours. Step 1, complete. The next day, Emma called me, just like Mom said she would. "Rita, hi. Your mom gave me your number. I'm so excited about the party." "Me too. Want to meet up and talk about what you have in mind?" "Yes. I have so many ideas. Can you meet me at that coffee shop on 5th Street, the one with the good pastries?" I got to the coffee shop early and ordered a latte. Emma showed up right on time, wearing a designer purse I knew cost more than Jake made in a month. She hugged me like we were best friends. "I am so glad you're doing this for us," she gushed as we sat down. "I know you pay for everything in Jake's family, so I figured you wouldn't mind helping us out." The way she said it rubbed me the wrong way, like she expected me to pay for things just because I had money. "So, what kind of party are you thinking?" I asked, keeping my voice sweet. "Well, I want it to be really special, like something people will remember forever." Her eyes lit up as she started talking. "I'm thinking 50 guests, maybe 60. Live music, not just a DJ, and the food has to be amazing. I nodded and smiled. That sounds wonderful. And I want real flowers everywhere, not fake ones, and a professional photographer. Oh, and one of those chocolate fountains. I've always wanted one of those. Chocolate fountain. Got it. She pulled out her phone and started showing me pictures. Look at this setup I found on Pinterest. Isn't it gorgeous? The flowers alone probably cost $2,000, but it's so worth it. Absolutely worth it, I agreed, still smiling. And the band I want to hire charges $1,500 for the night, but they're really good. I heard them at my cousin's wedding and they were amazing. I was keeping a mental tally of everything she mentioned. This party was going to cost at least $8,000, maybe more. You know what would be really special? Emma continued. If we could get champagne for the toast. Not just regular champagne, but the good stuff. Do you have Klikwat or something like that? Great idea. What else? Well, I need a new dress, obviously. Something that says future bride, but not too bridal, you know? I saw this perfect one at Nordstrom for $400. I just thought, since you're paying for everything else. But if it's too much, I understand. No, it's fine. I want you to have the perfect dress. Really? You're the best sister-in-law ever. We spent another hour going over details. Emma wanted everything top shelf, from the appetizers to the desserts to the decorations. By the time we finished talking, I estimated the whole thing would cost close to $10,000. This is going to be the best engagement party ever, Emma said as we got ready to leave. I can't wait to post about it on Instagram. All my friends are going to be so jealous. You should definitely post about it, I encouraged her. Let everyone know how amazing it's going to be. That evening, Emma sent me a link to her Instagram post. I clicked on it and read her announcement. Oh my God, you guys. Jake's amazing sister is throwing us the most incredible engagement party at Giovanni's. Live band, gourmet food, champagne, the works. I honestly can't believe how lucky I am to be marrying into such a generous family. This party is going to be legendary. Can't wait for you all to see it. The post already had dozens of likes and comments from her friends, saying how excited they were and how lucky she was. I screenshot the post and saved it to my phone. Then I put my phone down and laughed until my sides hurt. 2 weeks to go until their flight. 2 weeks for them to get more and more excited about their trip. 2 weeks for Emma to brag to everyone about her fancy engagement party. This was going to be fun. The next 2 weeks flew by. I didn't hear much from my family during this time. Jake texted me once to say thanks for paying for the party. Mom called to ask if I was okay because I seemed distant. I told her I was just busy with work. Emma sent me a few more Instagram posts about engagement party ideas, each one more expensive than the last. 3 days before their departure, I made another important phone call. I canceled their return flight tickets. The airline charged me a cancellation fee, but it was worth it. Now they'd be stranded in Italy with no way home except buying new tickets with their own money. The night before they left, I barely slept. Part of me felt guilty about what I was doing. These were my parents and my brother. They'd raised me, supported me through college, been there for family holidays and birthdays. But then I remembered how they'd laughed at me around that dinner table, and the guilt faded. Their flight was at 6 o'clock in the morning, which meant leaving for the airport at 4 o'clock. I volunteered to drive them, partly because I wanted to see them off and partly because I wanted to witness the beginning of their downfall. My alarm went off at 3:30. I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and drove to my parents' house. They were all waiting outside with their luggage, looking excited and sleepy. Emma had a huge suitcase that probably weighed more than she did. Rita, you're an angel for doing this, Mom said, giving me a hug. I can't believe you got up this early just to drive us. Anything for family, I said, popping the trunk. The drive to the airport was filled with chatter about their plans. They talked about visiting the Colosseum, eating gelato, seeing the Vatican. Emma kept going on about all the photos she was going to take for Instagram. Jake was excited about the romantic dinners he'd planned with Emma. We got to the airport, and I helped them unload their bags. The departures terminal was busy, even at this early hour, full of travelers heading off on their adventures. "Are you sure you don't want to come in with us?" Mom asked. "We could get coffee while we wait for our flight." "No, I should get going. Early meeting today." That was a lie. I was planning to go home and sleep for a few more hours, then spend the day doing whatever I wanted. Mom hugged me tight. "You're such a reliable daughter, Rita. We're so lucky to have you. We can always count on you to take care of everything." The irony of her words wasn't lost on me. In a few hours, when they landed in Rome and discovered they had no hotel rooms, they'd realized just how much they'd been counting on me. "Have a wonderful trip," I said, hugging each of them. Goodbye. Emma was the last one to hug me. "Thank you again for the party. I promise it's going to be amazing. You're the best future sister-in-law ever." I watched them walk into the terminal, pulling their suitcases behind them. Jake had his arm around Emma's shoulders. My parents were holding hands like teenagers. They looked so happy, so excited about their vacation. In about 12 hours, that would all change. I drove home and went back to bed but couldn't sleep. Instead, I lay there thinking about what was going to happen. They'd land in Rome around noon their time. They'd probably go straight to the hotel to check in and drop off their bags. That's when they'd discover the reservations had been canceled. At first, they'd think it was a mistake. They'd argue with the hotel staff, demand to speak to a manager. Maybe they'd call other hotels nearby, hoping to find rooms. But it was peak tourist season in Rome. Every decent hotel would be booked solid. By evening, they'd be panicking. That's when they'd try to call me. I got up and put my phone in a drawer, then went for a run. I needed to clear my head and burn off some nervous energy. The morning air felt good on my face as I jogged through my neighborhood. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. After my run, I showered and got dressed, then drove to a coffee shop across town. I ordered a healthy breakfast and sat outside on the patio, enjoying the sunshine. I felt like I was seeing my city with new eyes. The trees looked greener, the sky looked bluer, even the traffic seemed less annoying. I spent the afternoon at my friend Sarah's house. She lived about 20 minutes away, and we'd been friends since college. I didn't tell her the whole story about my family drama, just mentioned that my Italy trip had fallen through. "That sucks," she said as we sat on her back deck. "But hey, want to do something fun instead? My boyfriend and I were planning to go camping in the mountains this weekend. You should come with us." "Really? You wouldn't mind a third wheel?" "Are you kidding? It'll be great. We can hike, make s'mores, forget about our problems for a few days." The idea sounded perfect. "I'd love to." "Awesome. We're leaving Friday morning and coming back Monday. Pack light and bring hiking boots." We spent the rest of the afternoon talking about random stuff, work, gossip, TV shows, her new relationship. It felt good to have a normal conversation that didn't involve family drama or money or guilt trips. Around 8 o'clock that evening, I drove home. My phone was still in the drawer where I'd left it. I pulled it out and turned it on. Immediately, it started buzzing with notifications, missed calls, voicemails, text messages, all from my family. I scrolled through the messages. "Jake, Rita, call me as soon as possible. Something's wrong with the hotel. Mom, Rita, please call us. There's been some kind of mix-up. Dad, hotel says our reservations are canceled. Need help. Emma, oh my God, Rita, the hotel is saying we don't have rooms. What's happening?" There were 17 missed calls total. The voicemails were probably them freaking out and demanding I fix everything. Just as I was reading the messages, my phone rang again. Mom's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring for a few seconds, then answered. "Hello. Rita, thank God. Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you all day." I was out. "What's wrong?" "The hotel canceled our reservations. They're saying there's no record of our booking. We have nowhere to stay." "Actually, Mom, I should probably tell you, I canceled everything. The hotel rooms, the return flights, all of it. I could hear Jake yelling in the background about how this was all screwed up. Emma was sobbing loudly about how her vacation was ruined. Rita, you cruel, vindictive little bastard. Jake's voice came through the phone, clear as day. How could you do this to us? Pretty easily, actually, I said calmly. I just called and canceled, same way you canceled me from the trip I paid for. Mom's voice came back on the line. Rita, we're your family. We don't have money for hotels or new flights. You have to help us. No, I really don't. You made it clear that I'm just your personal ATM. Well, the ATM is officially closed. I hung up and immediately blocked all their numbers. Then I blocked them on every social media platform and messaging app one could think of. The silence that followed felt like the most peaceful sound in the world. 3 days later, my Aunt Helen called me. She was Dad's sister and had always been the reasonable one in our extended family. Rita, honey, what's going on? Your parents called me, asking me to talk sense into you. They said you stranded them in Italy. I told her the whole story, from the dinner where they kicked me off my own trip to Emma's expensive engagement party demands. Aunt Helen listened without interrupting. Well, she said when I finished, that was harsh, but I can't say they didn't deserve it. Your parents have been taking advantage of your generosity for years. You think I did the right thing? I think you finally stood up for yourself. It was about time. The next afternoon, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw all 4 of them standing on my doorstep: Mom, Dad, Jake, and Emma. They looked like they'd been traveling for hours and were completely exhausted. I knew this conversation was inevitable, so I opened the door. We need to talk, Mom said, pushing past me into my apartment. They all filed in, and I could tell immediately that they were furious. Their faces were red, their jaws were clenched, and they looked like they wanted to physically attack me. For a second, I actually thought they might. You ruined everything. Mom started screaming before I even closed the door. We had to put hotels on our credit cards. We had to borrow money from your aunt just to buy plane tickets home. Our entire vacation was destroyed because of you. Dad added, his voice shaking with anger, 5 days of fighting with hotels and airlines instead of enjoying Italy. Jake stepped forward, pointing his finger at me. And after the stunt, don't expect an invitation to my engagement party. You're not welcome. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The whole situation was so ridiculous. Jake, I was never planning to pay for your engagement party anyway. Emma's face went completely white. What do you mean? You promised. I was lying, I said with a shrug, same way you all lied to me about the trip being a family vacation. But I already told everyone on Instagram that it was going to be amazing. Emma's voice cracked. I invited 50 people. I told them about the live band and the fancy food. Sounds like you have a problem then. Rita, you can't be serious, Mom said, her voice getting desperate. We're family. You have to help us. Actually, I don't have to do anything. I'm done giving you people money. I'm done being your backup plan. I'm done being treated like an ATM with legs. They all stood there, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. I think they were genuinely shocked that I was standing up to them. You know what? I said, walking to my front door and opening it wide. I think this conversation is over. When they didn't move, I literally started pushing them toward the door. Mom tried to protest, but I kept pushing until all 4 of them were standing in the hallway outside my apartment. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to apologize, I said and slammed the door in their faces. I locked the deadbolt and leaned against the door, listening to them argue in the hallway for a few minutes before they finally left. The next morning, I got an email from Jake. Rita, after what you did to us in Italy and your behavior yesterday, we've decided to temporarily cut off all contact with you. Don't call us, don't text us, don't show up at our house. When you're ready to apologize and make this right, maybe we'll consider talking to you again. Jake. I read the email twice, then deleted it. Instead of feeling sad or guilty, I felt relieved. The weight I'd been carrying for years was finally off my shoulders. That weekend, I went camping with my friend Sarah and her boyfriend, Mark, like we'd planned. We hiked mountain trails, sat around campfires, and slept under the stars. I felt more relaxed than I had in months. For 3 days, I didn't think about my family or their problems once. When I got back to work the following week, I attacked my projects with renewed energy. My boss called me into her office on Wednesday. "Rita, I've been impressed with your work lately. How would you feel about a promotion to senior regional manager? It comes with a 30% salary increase." I couldn't help but smile. I'd feel great about it. Excellent. We'll make it official next week. A few months later, Aunt Helen called again. "I thought you'd want to know Jake and Emma had their engagement party last weekend." "Oh, yeah? How was it?" "Well, it was at your parents' house. Your mom made sandwiches and bought a sheet cake from the grocery store. Very modest affair." Emma looked pretty disappointed the whole time. I felt a tiny pang of satisfaction but didn't say anything. "Your parents told everyone you couldn't make it because of inappropriate behavior." Most people seemed confused by that explanation. That was 6 months ago. I'm doing great at my new job, making more money than ever. I've taken 2 amazing vacations with friends, bought myself a nice car, and moved into a better apartment. For the first time in years, my money is going toward things I actually want. I know my family thinks I'm a terrible person for what I did, but I also know that if I hadn't stood up for myself, nothing would have changed. They would have taken and taken until I had nothing left to give. I'm not waiting around for their apology. I'm too busy living my own life to worry about people who only valued me for my wallet.